the debate is always privatize versus making it publicly funded, public or privatize. But isn't there some middle ground? What about some kind of triple P partnership or something of the sort?
Well, sure. Going back to 1993, when Jean Chrétien decided that there would be no private investment in Canadian airports, there was all sorts of a variety of private investment, ranging from Europe to Britain to Australia. Sometimes they're owned outright. Sometimes it's shared with the government. Sometimes the government has the majority share. So certainly there's a whole range of options out there. It's a purely ideological position that we're in Canada, where our government said that we don't want to have private investors anywhere near Canadian airports, and so they created this really unusual structure that is now, the chickens are coming home to roost from that, because they don't have any way to raise money outside of government bailouts.
And when we're thinking about government ownership of an airport, for example, we have, and Cody, you're going to want to jump in here on this, but when we think of some of the potential mishaps that are going to occur in the very near future, we talk about Line 5. Line 5 is that line coming in through Michigan that feeds 100% of the jet fuel to Toronto's Pearson's airport, amongst a few other airports, but 100% of the jet fuel comes through there. So if the government can't even, I'm sorry to say, but manage our relationship with the governor south of the border to get this line continually, to get it flowing so that we can get our jet fuel. My concern is I'm not sure if I want the government managing my airport. Can you explain what's going on with Line 5?
Well, I think there's a couple important points to be made about how pipelines impact all of us and how resources impact our economy. And so with Line 5 specifically, if this pipeline is to be shut down, we could see a cessation of activities at Pearson Airport, barring some sort of alternate arrangement. And I mean, that alternate arrangement would be trucks potentially, and increased fuel costs. So more fees, more expense in flying. There's pre-COVID at the peak, there was a couple 100,000 flights per day around the world. That's all made possible by oil. And we need to be having a more informed conversation about how do we support our economy? How do we allow Canadian families to go on holidays and to do travel? How do we also help the government maximize revenue so they have money to pay for things like airports? And how do we ensure reliable, secure, responsible access to energy that we all rely on, like the Line 5 pipeline, which supplies the jet fuel to Pearson? Imagine you go to Pearson, all the flights are canceled because a pipeline got shut down. Everyone would quickly realize that we all rely on pipelines, even if we don't always realize it.
And the pipeline got shut down by a foreigner, no less, just so that we're all clear. So what do you propose would be a good solution? Well, specifically for Line 5, what do you think should be done there? And in general, like, advocate for pipelines and why we need to keep going, and how not only do they support many sectors, but airports specifically.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in Vancouver, they did a 13-kilometer jet fuel pipeline project in the last several years here, and it didn't raise, got no news coverage. There was no protests against it. I think we all need to understand that pipelines are the safest way to transport the oil and gas we all rely on. And when we're talking about Line 5, this pipeline has been in operation for about 65 years. The Hoover Dam was built by the same company that built this pipeline. And it has never had an incident in the waterway that the governor of Michigan is concerned about. It supplies home heating, jet fuel, gasoline, all these different products to Quebec, Ontario, the airports, and several states, especially Michigan. So we need to get back to balance when we talk about pipelines, supporting Canadian energy, maximizing the value of our resources so we can support our families. We are leaders in protecting the environment, and substituting a pipeline for thousands and thousands and thousands of tanker trucks in some of these scenarios is absolutely ludicrous. It increased costs and it doesn't help the environment.
No, and it sounds asinine. And you're right on all those points. If this line gets shut down, there's discussions that perhaps there will be tankers going across the Great Lakes with barrels of oil. I think we all have known that there have been spills on occasion, not frequently, but it does happen. So is that safer than going through the easement through Michigan? I don't think so. And you're right, with all the increased vehicular traffic transporting, say, the jet fuel to Pearson, if Line 5 gets shut down, that's definitely no friend of the environment.